currently we're in the last game of the trilogy, Spyro 3, or Spyro Year of the Dragon. This is the first game I ever played in my life, as young as 3 years old. In fact, playing this is my earliest memory ever. I remember falling in the lake in Sunrise Spring and not knowing how to get out and crying. I was a sensitive child. That being said, despite my nostalgia for this game, this is actually my least favorite in the original trilogy. Not to say I don't love it, there's just certain things about it that keep me from loving it as much as I love Spyro 1 and 2. Anyway, let's get into the review.
Spyro 1 and 2 did pretty great on the PlayStation, so Insomniac Games decided to make one last game, obviously that being Year of the Dragon, or just Spyro 3. They could just make what Spyro 2 was again, but that would have made for a lame ending to such a fantastic trilogy. They needed something new, you know, something to distinguish it from Spyro 2. So, they did just that. Spyro 3's story is actually pretty dang great. It begins with a bunch of dragons sleeping around in artisans, along with Hunter and Spyro. Some rhino creatures called Rhinox and a wizard bunny come out of a hole to steal the nearby dragon eggs. The wizard bunny accidentally steps on Hunter, causing him to scream, waking up everyone. Spyro tries to chase him down the hole, but it's too late. Losing all the dragon eggs is not an option to the dragon elders, aside from the obvious baby genocide. It's mentioned that dragons are only born every time it's the Year of the Dragon on the Chinese zodiac, so every 12 years, hence the name of the game. Huh. This game even came out in 2000, which was the Year of the Dragon. Neat. So Spyro and Hunter then decide to jump down the hole to get back the eggs, because apparently everyone else is too big. Makes sense, I guess.
The story may seem pretty basic right now, and it is, but there is one thing that makes it my favorite in this series.
Bianca, the wizard bunny character I mentioned earlier. You find out the reason she's stealing the eggs is because of the sorceress. I guess Bianca is the apprentice to the sorceress because it's obvious she's still learning magic. She initially believes the sorceress just wants the dragons because they're the source of magic, something this game's world, the Forgotten Worlds, lack. At first, she acts all tough to Spyro, but never actually hurts him. You know, all bark no bite. Later, she's ordered to kill him, and she becomes a bit reluctant. Instead, she decides to try to convince Spyro to stop, and she even reassures him that they won't harm the remaining eggs. She later learns the sorceress's true intent is to kill the baby dragons for their wings. She then finally backs out and starts to help Spyro and Hunter.
Wow, character development. I love how she starts off as a villain, not because she wants to, but because she kind of just ended up as one. But once her morals are truly tested, she goes back to being good. I know in the previous games I said I don't mind a simplistic story, and I don't. But when a story decides to be slightly more complex, I don't mind, even if it is a platformer.
The one aspect of the story I will not praise is the antagonist, the sorceress. I don't know, I just think she's kind of bland. Nasty Nork and Ripto weren't perfect, but I still think they were far better villains. You never actually see her do anything. All she does is sit and order Bianca around. Gnasty Gnork may have been a massive pushover, but at least he did something. Spyro and the sorceress never actually meet until the final boss, and I think that's a shame. I really enjoyed Spyro and Ripto's interactions in Spyro 2. A more minor thing, but I'm also not a fan of her design. It's too cute? I know I'm talking about a series about a young purple dragon with a dragonfly as his best friend, but I like how slightly threatening Nasty Nork looked. Yeah, Ripto wasn't very threatening looking, but that was kind of the point. He hid behind the power of his minions and his scepter. The sorceress just looks like she'd be right at home in a Strawberry Shortcake cartoon. I still think this game's story is the strongest in the series, despite not being a fan of the villain. As for other characters, it's mostly returning characters. There's Zoe. Shut up! Hunter and Moneybags, who once again is the reason why gems are important. As I said in my Spyro 2 video, Moneybags' response are kind of boring, and I thought they could have done way better. The game was already really charming, but I thought the writing was a bit too straightforward. Spyro 3 fixes this. Here are some of my favorite lines.
Spyro, you're just in time. I saw 2 egg thieves run through this door. Well, actually, they paid me to guard their hideout, but that's irrelevant. I'll happily let you through the gate to chase them down for a small finder's fee. Very well, Spyro, it's up to you. Maybe if we both just hold hands and think happy thoughts, the thieves will decide to return the eggs themselves. Where are you getting all this money, Spyro? It's not just lying around on the ground, is it? Is it? Ah, what do I care? It's mine now. You shouldn't anger a magician, Spyro. I just might decide to turn you into a blue hedgehog or something.
As a Sonic fan, I don't know if I should be offended or not.
The writing as a whole has gotten a massive upgrade, mostly in the cutscenes. There's a lot more slapstick, and as someone who grew up with Tom and Jerry, I love it. I also like this bit. As for the gameplay, well, for the most part, it's not too dissimilar to Spyro 2, which isn't a problem. It's only the second game to adapt this gameplay, so I don't mind. Besides, in what world is more of Spyro 2 a bad thing? You still collect loads of gems while completing objectives, but jumping, gliding, charging, flaming, whatever. By completing these objectives, you get dragon eggs instead of orbs. That's kinda messed up when you think about it. These are children. Children so young they haven't even been born yet. Yet there's still collectibles that you can't have unless you do errands for random people. Most of these guys get a pass because they're unaware of what's going on. Hunter, on the other hand, no. He's aware. He just wants Spyro to skateboard first. You're holding children hostage, Hunter. Anyway, a detail I really enjoy is each dragon has their own name. Some are mundane like John, Dave, Peggy, and Hank. Others are jokes, like there's a dragon mistaken for a chicken named Sanders. I love this game. There are a few other changes though. They unfortunately removed the double jump glitch. They scattered missions in their own sub-areas, a change I'm kind of indifferent to. They even brought back some stuff from Spyro 1, the keys that open up lock shafts, egg thieves, and even the supercharged ramps. They let you combine the last two and it can be a bit annoying. Still doesn't top treetops though. They also brought back those rockets that blow stuff up from Spyro 1 and 2.
I'm mostly bringing this up in this video because in my Spyro 1 video I said I would showcase the rockets better in my Spyro 2 video. I didn't. So for the sake of sticking to my word, as much as I can at least, here we go.
I forgot I hit this.
Why was that so loud?
I hope you...
There is one more major addition that I'd like to talk about later. As for the levels that you'll be doing these things in, they're even better than Spyro 2's. Spyro 2 may have had a bit of a slow start, but the theming was top notch in that game. Spyro 3 still somehow found a way to blow those levels out of the water, so I guess it's top notchier. There's a swamp level where everyone only speaks in haiku, even Moneybags.
Stop talking to me. I hate speaking in haiku. Just go find some gems.
A level based on Tomb Raider, complete with a busty mouse character named Tara. Two separate levels based on Spyro 1. One even has similar wizards that made Magic Crafters so great.
When are they gonna get to the fireworks factory?
Oh, and Fireworks Factory is pretty cool too. It's a fireworks factory full of ninjas and even has a section that plays like Doom. And probably the best level in the series, Dino Mines. Get this. It's cowboys, but dinosaurs. Fun fact, every PS1 Spyro game has guns. I don't have anything else to add, I just find that amusing. As for the hub worlds, they're all based on times of the day now. There's Sunrise Spring, Mayday Gardens, Evening Lake, and Midnight Mountain. There may be more of them, but I don't think they're as strong as Spyro 2's. It's just that they're lacking the really cool secrets that Spyro 2 had. The only one that comes to mind is the one egg in Evening Lake, the one inside the whale. While that is pretty dang cool, Spyro 2 had a lot more than just that. I still like these hub worlds, they're still fun to explore. My favorite one is probably the second one, Mayday Gardens, mostly because of these bunnies. Whenever you kill them, they let out this scream, and it is hilarious to me. I especially like killing several of them at once with the super flame.
I love this!
Something about harming innocent creatures in video games brings me immense pleasure. That's like the only way I have fun at the Chow Garden.
Don't worry, buddy.
Oh look, if you heard it enough, it starts running and screaming. How adorable. It thinks it can escape my wrath. Anyway, like I said, I still like these hub worlds. I appreciate them once again being safe rather than Spyro 1's hub worlds that felt like normal levels. Another thing you'll find in these hub worlds are the speedways. They're pretty similar to Spyro 2's, but they are a little different. The placement of everything is way more linear, as in, you have to be pretty unobservant to not know where to go. Heck, Sparks already tells you where to go. This kinda takes away some of the fun. I enjoyed how in the first 2 games, part of the challenge was finding the best path. They're still fun, I just think 1 and 2 had better speedways. You can earn a dragon egg if you manage to get every gem, so they are at least a little more worthwhile compared to the first 2 games. Speedways still have those bonus hunter missions. This time every mission involves flying sheep saucers. It seems Hunter is the only one that can see them. You okay, Hunter? Quality-wise, I'd say they're about the same as Spyro 2's, maybe even a bit better. There is one addition to these speedways, the races. Each speedway has an objective where you race some kind of creature, whether it be butterflies, bees, or seagulls. Basically, you go through star rings and get huge bursts of speed, and collect ammo to shoot your opponents. They're pretty fun and do add a lot of variety. My only complaint is that they're a bit too easy. I beat all of them at first try, though that's probably because I know the best route for all of them, because I've been playing this game since I was 3. Just like the first 2 games, this one's a looker. I think it even looks a bit better than Spyro 2. I'd attribute that to the more interesting theming though. I'm not sure if I'd say the same about the animations. They haven't gotten any worse or anything. I'm just really bitter because they got rid of those amazing intro and outro cutscenes from Spyro 2. If I had to guess to why, I'd say it's because this game has more cutscenes due to the heavier emphasis on the story. It's still a bummer. Let's hope Toys for Bob adds them and reignite a trilogy. The music is pretty good too, but I personally prefer Spyro 2's soundtrack. Stuart Copeland once again returns as the composer, but he's not alone this time. Ryan Beveridge? Is that actually how you pronounce it? Anyway, Ryan also composes some of the music, and I still think he does a good job too. It's pretty clear which song it was composed by who, since Stuart's songs still retain that Spyro feel, while Ryan's pieces have a more electronic sound to them. Good soundtrack, I just don't think much could beat Breeze Harbor or Aquaria Towers. One positive is the hub worlds now have actual music instead of ambient noises. The voice acting once again is pretty solid. Tom Kenny reprises his role as Spyro, as does Greg Berger as Hunter, and Moneybags got a new voice, and I actually prefer it to his Spyro 2 voice. His Spyro 2 voice is fine, I just feel like this one fits in better.
Ah, you must be the dragon everyone is talking about. Well, dragon or not, I'm afraid there is a small fee to open the bridge. It will cost you 100 of your gems to cross.
I suppose I could accidentally let the kangaroo escape if you were to pay me, say, a small fee. Well, don't worry, Spyro. Sheila won't stay in jail forever. The sorceress is thinking about having her executed next Thursday.
Before I forget, cheat codes are back. All the goofy codes from Spyro 2 are back, like Big HUD Mode or Flat Spyro. I didn't get any footage of them since I already did in Spyro 2, so you'll just have to take my word for it. One new code I did get footage for is this. Yes, I am indeed skateboarding on a squid.
So for the most part, I've been speaking mostly praise here, and yet I still said that this is my least favorite of the original trilogy in the beginning of the video. So what is it about this that I don't like so much? Well, look in the front cover. Notice anything about it? How there's other characters on the front? So if you haven't played the right games, or I guess in this case the wrong games, you might not know why this could be an issue.
Fans of Crash Bandicoot and especially 3D Sonic know this all too well. When a game decides to add additional playstyles, they tend to get way less focus compared to the main playstyle, so they end up being anywhere from mediocre to just plain bad, and the game ends up suffering because of it. Heck, the 2 examples I keep on bringing up in the footage, Crash 3 and Sonic Adventure, have some of the most fun gameplay in their respective series. I have a feeling some may disagree with me on one of those games. But things like the motorcycle and Big the Cat make me pretty reluctant to say they're overall the best in this series. Sometimes, like in Sonic Forces' case, even when they do give every playstyle equal focus, the main style ends up being way more lackluster than it should be. Why did I spend 20 plus hours in this game?
This isn't to say that every extra playstyle is bad, it's just that for the most part, more often than not, they're kind of bad. This sort of thing can be handled well, like the Speedways. In that case, it's close enough to the normal gameplay, and it's still fun. It's just a lot of cases in this game. Yeah, I guess for the most part, they're kind of close to the normal gameplay. It's just, I don't find them fun. Or at least not as fun.
For the most part, the extra playstyles aren't too far from the normal gameplay. I just don't think most of them are particularly fun. Most of them come from the new characters I mentioned earlier. In most levels, you'll find these hut things that have a closed-off door with a sign with a face plastered on them. To open these, you need to save that specific character to access a level. If you want to save them, there's one in each of the 4 hub worlds locked up in a cage, guarded by moneybags, because he's being paid to. Shocker. What's even less shocking is he'll turn a blind eye if you paid him. The captured animals always get revenge immediately, whether you're blasting him with a rocket or giving him such a brutal beating they can't even show it on screen. Again. Wish I could do that. The first animal you save is Sheilo the Kangaroo. Her gameplay isn't too far off from Spyro's, it's just much slower. She can't charge or glide, but she can kick as an attack and jump high. Her base jump isn't that high, but she can double jump in both ways. What I mean by that is she has the standard jump we've seen in platformers like Sonic Forces or A Hat in Time, but also the Mario one where you jump again immediately after landing. This one is much higher, and they like hiding things in really high caves, which can make it a bit tricky to find all the gems. Not bad, I just kind of find her gameplay average. Then there's Bird, James Byrne, or just Sergeant Bird. He's a James Bond-esque military penguin with rocket launchers on his shoulder, who's voiced by Tom Kenny. I already love him. His gameplay is probably my favorite among the new characters. You fly while shooting rockets, dropping bombs, and saving people, or once again, collecting the bones of a dancing skeleton. I like it because it's not that different than Spyro's gameplay. You still collect gems, kill enemies, but you cannot fly, and that obviously changes a lot. My only complaint is that he's kinda slippery while flying, and I guess that's realistic, but why? What part of this series is realistic? Anyway, regardless, I still enjoy playing as him. The third animal is Bentley the Yeti. He's not great. You know how I said Sheilo was a slower Spyro? Yeah, well, that description fits Bentley even better. He hits hard, but in a series where every enemy dies in one hit, that really only means you can break metal containers without the need of some power-up, like the Super Flame or Supercharge. I find his gameplay to be pretty blah. Nothing great, but nothing terrible either. A strong exception aside. I do like his personality though. Most big, hulking characters are portrayed as kinda dumb. Not Bentley. Well, at least he has an enormous vocabulary. The last character is Agent 9, the coked up monkey. I guess he's supposed to be some kind of test subject from the professor. Gameplay wise, well, it's a shooter. What kind? Several. There's a third person one that feels like a prototype to Ratchet & Clank that has a strafe. Why does this have a strafe? There's an FPS one that plays like Doom. There's a top-down shooter and even on-rails shooter, but you're using an analog stick instead of a light gun, so it's way less fun than it should be. All these styles only appear once or twice, so it's fair to say Agent 9 has the most variety, but once again, I find his gameplay average. That's not all the gameplay styles though. Spyro can now skateboard in this game. These parts will have you perform tricks to earn points, run down lizards, or racing while doing tricks to fill up a boost gauge. Wow, this exact gameplay is later reused in Ratchet & Clank. It's much more basic than the Tony Hawk games, but I still find it fun in small doses. Finally, we have Sparks. Yes, Sparks is playable in this game. The way you access these stages is by going to these Spark signs after you've already completed that homeworld and talking to Zoe. It's another top-down shooter, way more fun than Agent 9. You go through these labyrinths while shooting bugs or other smaller creatures. There's different weapons and invincibility power-up you get from eating butterflies. My only complaint is the controls show their age a bit. It's not a twin stick like a lot of younger gamers might assume. Instead, you have to rely on strafing, which can be a bit awkward. Maybe they'll change this in Reignited Trilogy. If you complete these, Sparks gets one new ability, with the exception of the last one which gives you 2 new abilities. There's increasing Gem Grab Radiance, the Gem Finder, getting another hit point, and the last Sparks level gives you the ability to teleport to whatever level you want, and breaking chests with sparks. Some of these are cool, the extra radius, and despite the extra hit point being a little confusing, with sparks having 2 stages where you use yellow instead of 1, that one's neat too. I'm not a fan of the gem finder being an unlockable. You had it from the get-go in Spyro 2, and it prevented the occasional moment where you couldn't find that one last red gem. In fact, that did happen to me in this playthrough. I spent an hour trying to find a gem in Enchanted Showers, and it ended up being in a pretty obvious spot that I had no idea how I missed, but my stupidity wouldn't have been an issue if they just kept it the way it was in Spyro 2. As for the last two, I'm pretty much done with the game at that point, so I don't think I ever actually used either of these abilities. Overall, the extra gameplay styles are a mixed bag. Some of them are good, but some of them are less than stellar. I don't think they bring the game down too much, but seeing how much I love Spyro 1 and 2, this alone still makes this my least favorite in the original trilogy. But I still haven't talked about what I believe is the worst part of the game, and maybe even the entirety of classic Spyro: boxing with Bentley. Oh my god, this is so ridiculously bad. I have no idea how Insomniac Games thought this was okay. The problem with this is the AI has a serious advantage. You can only punch every second or so as far as I know, and you can only guard high punches. Meanwhile, the AI is thunder punching and guarding most of your attacks. How is this fair? Why is there such a massive imbalance? How did this come from such a good developer? I only eventually won because I shouted, "Forget strategy!" and started spamming soft punches. It just worked somehow. I heard you can cheat by plugging in a second controller, and apparently when you do that, the game turns into a multiplayer game, so you can just leave that controller alone. I tried this one time myself, but it didn't work for me. I don't know, maybe I did something wrong. Even if that does work, that doesn't suddenly excuse bad game design. It really sucks because that level, Frozen Altars, is otherwise a really good stage. How do I do that in one take? Other missions aren't so bad. There's Kin Hockey, which thanks to this game's improved ice controls that allow you to turn on a dime, is a lot better than Spyro 2's hockey. There's another one where you defend a little girl from being hit with a hockey stick. I'd be lying if I said this game doesn't have its fair share of other annoying missions, but a lot of them don't stand out when that boxing one is in this game. Finally, we have the bosses. They're pretty good. They don't have the same build-up Spyro 2's have, but they're still a lot of fun. Aside from the first one, which can be cheesed very easily, they can be pretty darn hard. Spike is probably the hardest, but I somehow managed to almost beat him without taking a hit. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen again. A small detail I like is whatever animal you stage in that homeworld will help you in the battle. The only fight I outright dislike would be the final boss. This fight isn't very interesting, especially coming off of Spyro 2's. All you do is use whatever weapons that falls from the sky on the sorceress. That's it. Ripto had 3 unique phases that ended off on this. The sorceress has weapons tied to balloons. Ripto had an epic song with a choir. The sorceress has Morning Spring's theme?
Apparently Spyro 3 has this issue where the final boss theme doesn't load properly. Instead, the game defaults to the default song in the coding, which would be Sunrise Spring. It kind of takes away the seriousness, doesn't it? And because of this, I haven't actually ever heard in my life the final boss theme, at least anywhere besides YouTube. Even then, I've only heard it once.
Kinda takes away from the seriousness, doesn't it? It's not an awful fight, but I do vividly remember being very let down when I got to this. At least the ending's decent. It starts off with a nice nod to Spyro 1's ending, and Hunter and Bianca get together, which actually did have some build-up. And you even see Allura. Yeah, this is her only appearance for some reason. My favorite part is when you get back to the game.
Don't worry, Spyro. I won't be needing any more of your money. Now, don't look so surprised. I found one of the dragon eggs, and I'm going to sell it for a fortune back in Avalar. Why are you looking at me like that? I've got to be going now. Toodles!
You get to beat up money bags! It's all I ever wanted! Aside from that, skill points are back. I mentioned in my Spyro 2 video that I didn't really care about skill points. It's cool that they're there, but it's nothing I care too much about. Spyro 3 isn't any different. In fact, recording this video is the first time I got every skill point in the game. though there was only 3 I've never gotten before. One thoroughly blew my mind. Apparently if you shoot this thing in the Doom section, you get a power-up. I've been playing this game for 17 years and I just now learned this was a thing. Wow. The reward you get for getting every last gem and egg is pretty similar to Spyro 1's, a bonus level called Super Bonus Round, with 5,000 gems and 1 egg. The way this level works is also kinda interesting. There's these doors scattered everywhere that require a certain amount of gems to open. Once inside, you'll be greeted with a challenge. You'll get loads of gems once you complete whatever the task is. The hardest one would be Skateboard Race. Emphasis on would, because this one's really easy if you cheat. Stand on this boost star and the boost you gain will continue to stack and carry over to the race. Give me a break, I'm going to be playing through Enter the Dragonfly soon. Once every last gem is collected, the last door opens, a rematch with the sorceress. Finally a chance for her to redeem herself. And it's lamer. It's just a UFO fight, which I guess sounds kinda cool, but it's not. The fight isn't very challenging or fun. What you see here is all there is, after saving the last dragon, or 2. The 100% ending plays, and it's cute. It just shows some baby dragons playing with the adult dragons. Kinda lame, but whatever. Aside from the not so great true final boss and ending, I still think this is a solid reward. The bonus level itself is a lot of fun, and you have no idea how satisfying it is to collect this many gems at once.
So that was Spyro 3, or Spyro Year of the Dragon. It may be my least favorite in the original trilogy, but that doesn't mean I don't love it. The extra gameplay styles do hold the game back a bit, but I don't think they're anywhere near as bad as some of the other gameplay styles I mentioned in this video. So yeah, I would recommend this game. At least, if you've already played Spyro 2 and you really enjoy that game. So yes, I'd still recommend Spyro 2 over this. And if you really want, you could wait until Reignited Trilogy. It's coming out only probably by the time I upload this video, 2 months. And if you're interested in getting the most bang for your buck, it's worth mentioning that this is easily the biggest in the trilogy. Spyro 1 and 2 took me 3 sessions to 100% post games. Each session was an hour and a half to 2 hours. Spyro 3 took me 6 sessions, so it's roughly double the size of Spyro 1 and 2. So yeah, if length is a concern, then there's that. And again, Reignited Trilogy is coming soon. It looks pretty fantastic so far. Anyway, see you guys next time when I review Spyro Enter the Dragonfly for the PlayStation 2. Alright, bye.